Hello there, this is Wendy. I'm so excited to be here with you today. Today we're going to use the Chinoiserie background die. I really love this bold background die. I think it's gorgeous and we're going to make a beautiful card with it today. First, I have cut out of some Spellbinders cardstock all of the leaves and all of the roses and the background. This cardstock can be found on Honeybee's website, and it's fantastic. It comes in a pack of 48. Obviously, the background die can also be found on the Honeybee website, and I have placed a link below this video with all of the supplies if you want to grab anything that you see today. We're going to start by ink blending some mowed lawn onto this green cardstock. I love these little Honeybee brushes because they allow you to add just a little bit of ink blending detail without getting a big brush out, and then that way you can add just little details here and there, and it gives you more intricate abilities for shading. I have a lot of these little brushes from Honeybee, and I find them to be really handy. If you want, you can wash them out so that you can use them for different colors. They do wash out easily. I've done it myself. But the other option is to have a bunch of them like I do, and then you kind of have one for all the different colors, or at least all the different color families. Here you will glue all of your leaf pieces onto the back of the little wispy vines that have nothing at the end of them. So if you look over to the left, you can see that I'm using the layering guide from Honeybee. To get this layering guide, all you have to do is go to Honeybee's website and download it under the product name. It'll say layering guide. You click it, open it up, and you can download it and print it. I always print all of the layering guides, then I fold them up and I tuck them in with the die set. Here I'm using picked raspberry to darken some of the layers of the roses so that I have a little bit more texture and depth and interest with each rose. Several of the little pieces of the roses are small and intricate, and I like to use my Honeybee reverse tweezers to add glue and then put them in place where they belong. Now I did mess up on this rose and I accidentally put that little teeny piece that you see there at the top of the rose. It was actually supposed to go somewhere else, and then another piece, but in the end you can't really even tell the difference. There is some forgiveness when you're creating stuff like this. Nobody's going to pay attention to those minute details. It's just something I personally can tell a difference and know because I'm looking at the layering guide. As I'm building the rose, I am doing just that. I'm looking at the layering guide for each and every piece. One of the things that I like to do is cut all my pieces out first, and then I set them out in the order in which the layering guide shows to adhere them together. With each layer, I add a little bit of shading just so that, again, there's more interest and a little bit of breakup of the pattern of the cardstock. So again, picking it up with my reverse tweezers, adding some Honeybee glue, and then I'm just going to layer it on and get it in place. Now let's talk about the interesting part of this video. In a little bit, after I get all of my parts and pieces layered and ready and I build my background, I got this idea to create a really cool gatefold card using Vellum from a video from Jennifer McGuire many years ago. And I've made a card like this in the past, but it's been a really long time. So I decided I would do it again. I was a little rusty, and I made the decision to leave a huge mistake I made in this video rather than editing it out. The reason I did that is because I wanted to show you that you can recover from some pretty difficult mistakes if you just get creative. Isn't that true in life as well? We can all recover from mistakes we've made. It's just sometimes you have to get a little bit creative. So what we're going to do after we get all of these bits and pieces glued on is I'm going to show you how I assemble the card base, And then you'll see the big mistake I make, because I do leave it all in the video for you to watch. It's pretty painful to watch, to be honest with you. But I really fought hard to leave it in and not cover up my big boo-boo. So here is the final rose that I'm putting on. Now I have to admit that I absolutely love the colors I chose for this background. And they really made me think of like a story, a fairy tale, storybook, or even like Beauty and the Beast, maybe. It just has that feel to it. So here I'm going to cut 2 pieces of vellum. I'm stacking them together. They're cut at 5.5 by 8.5. And then I'm going to cut 2 1/8 off of the end of both of them. Then I'm going to score them both individually at 2 1/8. And this is going to make my gatefold card come together. I need 2 pieces because vellum is very thin and flimsy for the most part. I mean, there is really, really thick vellum out there available. So if you want that, you can get it. This is not super thick. So layering the 2 pieces together in the center made this a more sturdy card base. So here I'm scoring at the other one at 2 1/8. And then I'm going to use my bone folder to burnish it. And we're going to put them together. Here, I had to score this again because, okay, full disclosure, I have a heavy hand. So I had made a piece of this vellum earlier and I cut it in half on accident. I mean, I cut it in 2 because I was pushing so hard with the scoring bar or the scoring blade that it just cut right through the vellum. So if your vellum isn't super duper heavy duty, you just want to be careful when you're scoring it. So here's what the card concept will be. It's a vellum card that opens at the center. And then we're going to put a note card on the inside of it. The way I'm going to adhere it together is using some double-sided sticky sheets. You know, you can get those sheets at lots of different places. Again, I'll link to all the supplies below so you can find what you need. So I'm just peeling the backing away from one side and then adding it to my card base. And then I will remove the backing from the other side. And then once I remove it from the other side, I will layer this other piece that you see at the top on top of it. This is a great way to adhere these together because it doesn't, if you use glue, it can make it kind of wrinkly, and it also leaves a bunch of marks. Doing it this way, it's a very smooth process and it looks nice and clean and smooth in the end. So I'm just going to add this down, getting it lined up very neat and nice, and then we'll just smush it together. And you can see there that it really looks nice and you don't see a bunch of crazy lines in the vellum. So after we get that done, I'm going to add this little note card in the center. I cut this at 3.5 by, I can't remember. When it's folded, it's 4 3/4 by 3.5. So what's 4 3/4 plus 4 3/4? I can't do math. It's late in the day. That's 9. Is that 9.5? And then scored at 4 3/4. Anyways, this note card fit perfectly on the inside, leaving a little edge around. This actually is like a shimmery cardstock. It's not just white. And then we're going to stamp in the center of this later. But for now, this is how this looks. Isn't that pretty? It's kind of elegant and delicate, I feel like. Okay, ready for the big mistake? Here we go. Let's get into it. So basically, once I get this part done, now I need to cut my background in half. And I don't know why. I'm just going to tell you right now. I do not know what in the actual world I was thinking. But I thought I'll just put it in my Tim Holtz trimmer and I'll just chop it down right down the center, no problem. The thing I didn't think about in doing this, and right here what I'm doing is I'm making sure that my cut line lines up with the opening of the gatefold, because I'm going to glue each side of these to each side of the card base so that the gatefold will open in the middle. In order to do that, I have to cut these down that line. They can't, you know what I'm saying? They have to be cut apart. So my intentions were good. I had really good intentions here, and I worked hard to get a nice line so that when I stuck it in my trimmer, I would be able to line it up well. Well, here is where all of you are screaming at the screen and going, oh my gosh, what's about to happen? It's like watching a horror movie for card makers. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't go up the stairs. In every horror movie, the girl runs up the stairs instead of out the front door. This is it. This is it. This is her running up the stairs. Look what I do. I just keep hacking at it. Like, oh, it's me. I'm the problem. It's not cutting. Yep. Just keep hacking it, Wendy. So I'm praying that somebody out there is going to comment and say, I've done something like this also. You see me put my hand down like, what an idiot. And then I realize, stop it. You're just destroying this thing. So I get it out of the trimmer and it's mutilated. I've worked so hard on this and now it's a mess. But I refuse to give up and quit. So I do what I should have done from the very beginning, which is draw the line and then use my scissors. Were any of you screaming at the screen being like, use your scissors, dum-dum, use your scissors? So I have this rose that now has this big gash in the middle of it. So we're going to fix this. We're going to make this work because I'm like, I am not redoing this. Like, this is not the most work I've ever spent on a lovely layer, but let's just call it what it is, friends. Lovely layers are a labor of love. And I did not want to have to sit and remake this whole thing and just throw this in the garbage. So here's where it's cool. This chinoiserie background is very flexible. It kind of like moves around a little bit. See how it will move back and forth? So I am able to get glue on the back of these and glue these down on each side. And then I'm going to show you how I was able to cover up my big mess up on that one rose. I don't know if you can see it there on the right, that rose in the middle, but it has a huge gash in the middle of it. And it's very noticeable in person. See it in the back when I turn it over? So I'm going to add my honeybee glue to the back of both of these pieces that I have hacked up and cut to pieces. Oh, it's just comical to me. I hope it's comical to you too. So then I'm going to turn it over, right? I've already glued the one down, and now I'm going to glue this one down, and I'm going to cheat it because I used glue. So I'm going to be able to cheat this and kind of get everything where I need it to be before it like really sets up, if that makes sense. This is the most forgiving background dye I think I've ever worked with in my life. It still ended up, this whole thing ended up being really pretty. Is it exactly what I would have wanted? No. And I'm going to tell you why here when we get to the next part. But I still was able to salvage it and make it work and look beautiful. And the person, whoever I give this to, is not going to be the wiser. They're going to have no idea that this was a big mess and that I totally screwed it up by hacking it to death in a Tim Holtz trimmer. Tim Holtz, I'm sure, would be ashamed. Like, what are you trying to do to my trimmer? I mean, you could tell I was like beating the thing. Okay. So I ended up using this happy birthday die. This is the big happy birthday die from Honeybee. I added glue to one side of it. High in sight, probably should have added glue to the other side because that's the rose that was messed up, but that's okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue it down to the one side. Isn't that pretty? Now, ideally, I would have gone with a smaller sentiment on the front, but I needed a large sentiment to kind of cover up my mishaps. And then when you open it, it opens like this, and then the center folds up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to stamp on the inside. So I'm grabbing my Memory Misty. This is my 12 by 12 Misty. And again, you could count this as a boo-boo. Ideally, what I should have done is done my stamping on my note card prior to having the card completely assembled. Because now if I mess up, I've got a real problem on my hands, right? So just do as I say and not as I do. Learn from my mistakes. How about that? How about we do that? That's what I always tell my daughter. She's 16. I always say, learn from my mistakes. Don't do what I do. Learn from me. So here I'm using the grid on my Misty door to just get everything lined up. And if you don't have a Memory Misty, you could just put this on a clear block, your sentiment on a clear block, and stamp. It will work totally fine. These Memory Misties are pretty cumbersome. They are handy in a pinch, like this one, but they can be pretty cumbersome. They're large. So I'm going to stamp this twice with the Honeybee, what is it? Intense Black ink. I couldn't think of the name of it for a second. And this says, hope your birthday is just amazing as you are. And then obviously the front of this card says, happy birthday. And I think it is absolutely beautiful. Now let's talk about the inside of the card for a second. You can see there where all the glue is attached, has attached to the vellum. If that bothers you, you certainly could cut a whole nother die and glue it onto the inside. It does not bother me at all. And I don't think it's going to bother the recipient at all. So I'm not worried about it. So there is our finished card. You hung in there with me, and I thank you for that. If you have any questions, drop the comments below, and I'll talk to you again very soon. Bye-bye, friends.